How's it going? Nick Croza here, and today we are going to talk about some practice strategies, how to practice music and actually enjoy it, okay? This video is originally produced for the Valley Youth Orchestra, a nonprofit organization in the Delta Montrose area. The orchestras are in recess right now, and I've been creating weekly content for them. If you're from the VYO, how's it going? If you're not, glad to have you here on my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to it. I only have 30 subscribers, so let's get that going. Let's get right to it. Practicing music. Why do we practice? How much should we practice? What should we practice? Let's talk about it. So when you start playing an instrument, it's shiny, it's new, it's fun. You want to do it all the time, right? And then, okay, you start to get used to it. Maybe you're not practicing as much as you should be. Let's talk about that a little bit. So it is a lot easier to practice when you know what you're aiming for, when you have a goal in mind. Think about this like you're an athlete. If you're an athlete and you're like, I am going to run the fastest mile in my category in track or whatever. I'm going to be the quickest, okay? If you have that in mind, you're going to train differently than, okay, well, I'm just here to run. I'm just going to run fast. Like, I'm just going to run. Those are two completely different mentalities. And with music, if you're practicing, okay, I got my lesson tomorrow, I just need to practice a little bit so that goes okay, versus I want to get good at this instrument. There's something I know I can be better, then you're going to have a lot better time practicing. So step number one to music practicing is have a goal in mind. If you don't have a goal in mind, here's a great way to find a goal. Get on YouTube and find somebody that's better than you. It can be a professional. It can be somebody that's just a little older than you. It can be somebody your same age that's better than you. But find someone that sounds better than you and figure out, what are they doing? What sounds so good about it? I mean, find the best recording that you can find and be like, this cello player sounds so good. I want to sound like that. That's my goal. I want to sound like that. Then, when you practice, you will have a clear goal in mind. So that's step one. Have a reason for it. Have a goal, a purpose in mind for your practicing. And step two, create a routine of practicing, okay? So many kids I know that do music, they practice right before their lesson, right before their rehearsal, and the rest of the week, I'm just too busy with school, I'm too busy with this, I'm too busy with that, okay? You don't have to practice for 6 hours a day. You don't have to practice for 2 hours a day. You just need to practice consistently. It needs to be a normal part of your life. There are many things in your routine already that you probably don't even think of as your routine because you do them all the time. You brush your teeth. Hopefully, you brush your teeth, right? When you wake up, when you go to bed, floss too, right? That's part of your routine. Eat breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner. That's part of your routine. Even going to youth orchestra, it's part of your routine. And the experts say that it takes about 1 to 3 months to really put something into your routine. So the first month of it is going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you have to make yourself do it. But once you've been practicing consistently for 1 month to 3 months, it's just going to be who you are. You're just going to wake up and it's going to be like brushing your teeth. And that's what we want. I'm not saying practice 6 hours. I'm saying practice 30 minutes every single day or practice 45 minutes every other day. Find what works for you. Okay, well, I can practice mainly every day except for Thursday or Friday because I have softball. Okay, don't practice Thursday and Friday. Practice all the other days. Find the time that's available where you're not doing anything that you have available and say, this is my practice time. Make it a routine. It's going to take 1 to 3 months. Start today. By March, you will have it in your routine, and by May, June, July, you are going to be so much better at music than you are right now, okay? So have a goal in mind, have a routine. Now, let's talk about what actually happens in the practice room. You have to have a warm-up. Your warm-up will shape the musician that you become. Just like sports, you got to stretch, right? Music, you gotta warm up. What are we warming up for music? We're warming up our ears, we're warming up our bodies, and we're warming up our minds. Each one of those needs to be warmed up before you can have a practice session that is successful, okay? So, how do we warm up to practice music, okay? First step, deep breathing. You gotta get yourself ready, okay? Have some deep breaths, clear your mind, forget about everything else is going on, and think about, okay, the next 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is, I'm going to be making beautiful music. And you have to think about how lucky you are to be making music, okay? Not every student has access to an instrument. Not every student has access to an awesome program like Valley Youth Orchestra. You guys are lucky. And if you start your practice session out grumpy, mad, tired, annoyed, well, guess what? Whenever you play, that's what you're going to sound like. If you take just a minute, take some breaths, clear your mind, and actually be thankful for getting to practice, for having an instrument, for having a group, you're going to have a much better practice session. So that's the first step to warm up our minds. Then we need to warm up our bodies, okay? There's plenty of great stretches to just warm yourself up to music. Have you ever heard of carpal tunnel? Have you ever heard of repetitive motion injury? Believe it or not, music can be dangerous. And that's kind of surprising because I've never seen a violin slap anybody. But if you're not doing things right, you can actually damage your body long term. So it's important to stretch out and think about the way that you're using your body. If you're gripping your bow too hard or pressing too hard into the fingerboard, that can actually lead to damage down the road. So, some good basic stretches for your body, okay? There's a lot of arm, shoulder, chest motion in string playing. So, focus on those areas and stretch them out. Here's a great warm-up stretch. Stick out your hand and gently feel the stretch through your wrist, through your arm, all the way up. And you don't want to hurt yourself. You just want to warm your fingers up to playing. And another great stretch is going to be to put your hands in the air and bring them like this. Kind of open up your shoulders and feel that freedom of motion. Okay? Another great one is a forward fold or try and touch your toes. So stand up, bend over, and gently relax. Let your head drop. Come up slowly. Bend over again. Okay? Let your arms just hang. Think about the awesome practice you're going to do. Kind of shake things out a little bit. And you're going to warm up your mind. So you're going to warm up your body. So we've warmed up our mind and our body. We did some stretches, and now we're ready to get on the instrument and warm up our ear. Okay, my hair is kind of hiding my ears these days, but you want to warm up your ear. And this is what's going to help you get better at tuning. When you listen to amazing musicians, you're going to hear them play so in tune, like each note is like right in tune. Well, how are we going to do that? We're actually going to use a tool called a drone, okay? I'm not talking about the drone, the unmanned plane type deal. I'm talking about a note that gets held and doesn't change. That's called a drone. And I'm going to show you two places that you can find a drone. First, I've got my iPad here, and this app is called Tonal Energy. It's a great musical tool, metronome, tuner, just super good, and it has a drone built in. So We're going to go down here to sound, and we're going to hit the sustain button. And since I put it on C, we can play C major scale slowly to warm up our ear and listen. And if you actually listen to this drone, it's going to help you find where each note should fit. Okay? If you don't have tonal energy on a tablet or something like that, I'm going to show you real quick on YouTube how we can get there. So, we're going to go to YouTube, and we're going to look up cello drone. And when you do that, you're going to see this awesome playlist right here. You know, here's cello drone A is just going to be the note A. But here's a whole playlist of drones of any note from C to F sharp to E flat, all the different notes. And whatever scale you're playing, you're going to want to set on a drone. And they're 6 minutes long, so that gives you plenty of time to play your scales. And you want to use this to warm up your ear. Okay, so we warmed up our mind with some breathing and some thankfulness. We opened up our bodies with some stretches, and we warmed up our ears and our instrument with some scales with a drone. Now it's time to get into some real music and to actually practice some real music now that we're warmed up. So, when you hear the pros play, you hear each note being super in tune, and you hear the rhythms being very precise, very nice, very exact. And what we're going to do to get that is use our metronome. So pretty much most of the stuff you practice, you should have a metronome going. If you are practicing, you should have the metronome. Say it. If you are practicing, you should have the metronome. Okay? The metronome is going to make you be even. And now, there is a wrong way to play with the metronome where you kind of play with it, you kind of ignore it. You know, you might get off a little bit and that's okay. Or you can listen really hard, feel the beat of the metronome, and fit in the music so smoothly with it. And you want to practice slowly. If you practice slowly and focus on each note and each rhythm, then you can speed it up and it's going to sound so good. So practice with a metronome, practice slowly, and get this, I'm going to show you another trick with the metronome, okay? So, say we're practicing something with this metronome right here. It's at 95 beats per minute. Da-da-da-da-dum, 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 da-da-da-da-dum. Okay, that's what, let's just say that's what you're practicing. I can either turn off the second beat, or I can just divide 95 in half. Unfortunately, you can't exactly divide 95 in half without a decimal. So let's just split the difference and call it 43. Okay? 47. 47 times 2. 94. Almost 95. Math. Okay. 47. Da-da-da-da-dum, 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 da-da-da-da-dum. Okay. See that? You're getting half as much from the metronome, so now more of that responsibility is on you. If you put the metronome on half speed, then it's a little bit more tricky. And look at, since it's on half speed now, I'm going to get rid of this beat, and now all the responsibility mainly is on me. So I'm going to do it, and you're going to hear me speed up a little bit to where I'm not with this, and then you're going to hear me lay it down. Da 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 da. I Sped up. Here, I'll do it too slow. Da 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 da. That's not right. Now I'm going to feel like that second beat is there, but it's only there in my head. Da 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 dum 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 dum. Tricky, tricky, tricky. So if you can get the metronome to put more of the responsibility back on you, that's going to be a good thing. Start with it on all the quarter notes, then make it only on the half notes, and then even make it on the whole notes, and you'll really get steady, professional rhythm. Okay? So when you practice, use the drones. Use the metronome. These are tools that can help you. And now, if you don't have a metronome on your tablet, watch this. I love the internet. Ready? Just Google the word metronome. Oh, look. Google has a built-in metronome, and it changes colors. Okay, let's do the same exercise we just did. Da 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 dum, da 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 dum, da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Da 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 dum, 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 da 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 dum. Okay, here's a metronome right here for free on Google. It's amazing. It's one of the many tools from Music Mondays with Nick. All right, we've got our metronome, we've got our tuner, we've got our warm-ups. We're killing it. Let's talk about how do we actually practice a piece of music itself, okay? Do you just start at the beginning and go to the end? Do you just pick a little spot to work on and only work on this one spot that you're good at? Well, here's a strategy. You want to be comfortable with the whole piece. Because when you start learning a piece, okay, the beginning's kind of easy. Oh, dang, then the middle's kind of hard. Okay, now it's easy. So you just practice the middle. You get really good at the middle. Well, guess what? Then you try and do the whole thing, and now the beginning, well, yeah, it was easy, but you kind of ignored it because you were just focusing on the middle, so now the beginning's all hard, right? You want to make it even to where the whole piece, you're confident, you're strong, you've practiced each part of it. So when you're just learning a piece, sure, start from the beginning. Then that's day one. Have a practice journal. Day one, I practiced today from the beginning to the end. Great. With a metronome. Great. Now, day two, here's an idea. Start from the end and back up to the beginning. Start with just the very end of the piece, then do a little bit before the very end, then even a little bit before that. Okay, then you're going to be just as good at the end as you are at the beginning, because yesterday you started on the beginning and went to the end. Today you started at the end and went to the beginning. Change up what you do. Don't just, okay, today I'm practicing the same thing I practiced yesterday, the same thing I did before that, the same thing I did before that. Change it up. Use the metronome. Use the drone. Play along. Find a recording on YouTube that's good. That's a good recording. Find a good recording on YouTube and play along with it. Okay? Play along. Listen to the other parts. And sometimes it's a really, really good exercise, and it's still practicing to have a recording and actually just watch and listen. Because then you're not so focused on playing your part, you're actually hearing what's going on in the rest of the group. And then when you get to rehearsal, it's not like, what's going on? It's actually, you know what to expect that's going on. So have your music, listen to the recording, and listen to how your part fits in. Because guess what? No matter what instrument you play, from bass to violin, sometimes You're important. You're the melody. You need to be heard. You need to play loud. Sometimes, not so much. Yeah? How are you going to figure that out if you only practice you by yourself? Okay? The only time where you're the biggest deal the whole time is when you are playing by yourself. If you're playing with anybody else, one other person, two other people, a whole orchestra, there are going to be times where you're the big deal and there's going to be times where you're not. It's about being on a team. And guess what? You have to practice with that in mind. You have to practice like you are on a team. So, in review, here are some strategies to have a better, more fun, more exciting practice session. Have a goal in mind. Know what you want to sound like and don't stop practicing until you get closer to that. Have a routine every day, every other day. Have it set. Write it down. Make it to where you will practice. Don't just practice when you have time. Third, warm up. Warm yourself up. Warm up your body. Warm up your mind, your body, your ear, your instrument. Practice with the metronome. Practice in different ways. Practice from front to back, back to front. And most importantly, remember how lucky we all are to have music. Music is seriously the coolest thing ever. And don't forget that. You guys are awesome. It's been great talking to you today. See you next time.